Welcome to ESA MAN, the podcast for anyone who knows the roller coaster of living in a new country. Whether you're crying alone in your bedroom with no friends, don't worry, we've all been there, or can't get over the fact that this is the awesome life you live. This is your place to laugh, learn, and feel a little less alone on this wild ride. I'm your host, Kat, just a regular American living in Ecuador, figuring it all out one very baby step at a time. From epic language fails to humbling life lessons, I'm here to share my journey and help you navigate yours. On this show, we'll laugh, cry, and maybe even cringe a little as we dig into the real, messy, hilarious truth about life abroad. Ready for a good laugh? Great. Vámonos, baby. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to ESA MAN podcast. I am so excited that you guys are here today. We are going to jump right into it because I want to talk about the first time I met Diego's family. If you guys are familiar with Latino culture, like families are big, they get together quite frequently. So here I am, Catherine. How old was I? I don't even remember, but I think it was, I was 23 years old. And I remember, so this is the first year that I moved to Ecuador. I moved at the end of December and my birthday is January 5th. So I was here for my birthday, whatever, but I had not met Diego's family yet. And we had just been like really official for a few months. Mind you, we had never lived in the same place because we did long distance for a bit. So anyways, I will have to say, I don't think we're going to put out a blanket statement here, y'all. And you know, blanket statements aren't always true, whatever. There's outliers, there's whatever. But I would say a lot of times Latinos are very like close with their families. They live with their families a lot longer. You know, they communicate with them more. They might like go to the house, get like lunch at their mom's house every day or whatever it may be. And Diego is not like that. He is very not your stereotypical Ecuadorian. Fast forward, it is in the beginning of January. Their family always does like a New Year's kind of get together thing. I forget what day it was. So they were doing this lunch and he's like, okay, let's go meet my family. And I am sweating because y'all, if you like, I remember like in the US in English, when I would meet people's parents, like, y'all, I could work some parents, meaning like, I feel like I can talk to a wall. I feel like parents loved me. I was always just like, a good student, a good person, and personable, charismatic, like, I feel like parents would love me. But you throw in the fact that I barely spoke Spanish. Well, I had like a year under my belt in Chile. But let me tell you, y'all, I was terrified to speak Spanish. And more so in front of Diego. I have no idea why. We have since then moved past that. It took me about 2 years, story for another day. But I was so scared to speak Spanish in front of him. And so anyways, that's like a recipe for disaster because how the heck am I going to speak to his family if I don't even speak Spanish in front of him and my face turns red and like, y'all, my face just gives me away. Like, I'm so pale. My skin is so white and I'm like translucent. And so when anything happens, like my face turns red, whether I'm embarrassed or not, it's like red. Oh, it's hot in the room, red. It's cold in the room, red. I don't know. Something just happened, red. So anyways, I go to the valley. His family, like a lot of his family lives out in Valle de los Chillos, and which is in Quito. It's like a valley. If you aren't familiar with Ecuador, whatever, it doesn't matter then, I guess. But anyway, so we go out to lunch with him and I remember like him introducing me. And like, if there's one thing about Diego, love the man to death, but he's not going to hold the conversation. He's not going to like, he'll be the one that like, he'll put you in a room like when you first meet somebody and then just dip out and go to the bathroom. And you're like, what? Especially if we don't even speak the same language. Don't get me wrong. I can handle my own in a party and like I can meet people and mingle and whatever, but time and place. And I didn't really speak the language anyways. Whereas if it's me and I feel like Diego comes in mind, like I will literally not pee. I will get a UTI before I leave the room so that he wouldn't have to be alone with somebody. Like, I don't know. It could be a me thing. It could be a female thing. It could be just a Diego thing. I don't even know. And that was obviously in the beginning, whatever. So anyways, I meet his mom. So kind. Honestly, so nice. And like, I mean, honestly, I didn't speak that much Spanish. So like, everything seemed great, and like I met his whole extended family. And it's crazy because the one thing that you don't realize is that when you don't really speak a language and like I met all his family and they all kind of like told me things and to be nice, you're like nodding your head, smiling, trying to listen. But then you fast forward to like 2-3 years when you can actually understand. And it's wild because technically you should know these people because you've been with them for like 2 or 3 years. But in reality, you were just like trying to stay, like keep afloat, And so you're like, what do you do for a living? Who is that person again? Like,
what do they do? And so it was just crazy. So that's a little side story. But anyways, I remember meeting them, greeting everybody, going around the table, and then we sat down, but we got there late and we caught the end of it. So like not a big deal, whatever. It was really nice. So I met his mom, like didn't really talk to her because she was they were kind of like pretty much leaving when we were coming in. But the real time that I met the entire family, pretty much I want to count this as like the first time. So it was like literally a day later. So this was, I think, the actual New Year's event. I don't know what the other one was, like a lunch or something. I walk into this room with about probably 30 to 40 people all sitting. You know how the chairs are just like around the perimeter of the room, all facing the inside, like, as if like there's a show coming on. There's one thing about Latino culture is that you gotta go around and greet everybody with a kiss like on the cheek. And I'm still new to this. I'm not sure how it goes. Sometimes I went in too fast with the kiss, and it's like you bam, you like hit their cheek really hard. And you're like, oh shit. That was happening. And then I'm going around. I'm like, oh, hello, hello, hello. And I feel like when you're getting close to somebody's face and you're nervous, I'm like trying to make conversation. I'm like, oh, ¿cómo estás? And I don't have words because like, I don't, like, I can speak a few things, but like small talk in another language, that's not easy. Small talk in any language isn't easy. I remember kissing everybody on the cheek, whatever. I'm like, okay, we sit down. I'm like, phew, I can lay low, baby. Introductions are done. I met the entire family. And like I said, it was close to my birthday. Everybody's really nice. Honestly, like super welcoming, whatever. I'm trying to understand them. I don't really understand them, but I think I'm like most people. Like I want to be liked. So I'm like smiling. I'm trying to, be as charismatic as I can with my gestures. And it's just really hard because you see yourself as this like grown ass adult, but you're so humbled because you're like, I can't communicate. Great. Or I could communicate a little bit, but yeah, whatever. I remember they pulled out a cake and ended up being for me. And if there's one thing, if you don't know this about me, I really don't like being the center of attention, which is so wild because you're going to be like, what? Social media. I love social media. I love talking to the camera. I think it's so fun. Like I love just like being able to be me in front of the camera. But like even for our wedding, I didn't want to do a first dance. Like I didn't want to really do speeches that much. We did like just I just don't like a ton of eyes on me. And which is once again wild because hello, my job. And I just remember like the cake comes out and I'm like, well, guess what happened to my face? Turned frickin' bright red. And that's the thing too. Here in Ecuador, people say it like, se puso roja or whatever. And you're like, oh my gosh, like now everybody's acknowledging the fact that my face is red, but here we are. And then they sing me happy birthday. You get it in Spanish. I don't know what to do with my face for just the English version. Then you add the Spanish version and then they did it in English. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and it was so kind. It was so, honestly, it was the sweetest thing. The fact that his mom like had got somebody to make me this cake. And it was just so, so nice. But this is the first interaction with the fam. I did not realize that when like, oh, take a bite of the cake. And so I put my face near the cake and you betcha Diego smashed my face into that cake. And I was like, oh my gosh. Honestly, that was like fun. And it was like, oh, I love this, love this. And then they were like, palabras de la cumpleañera, meaning they wanted me to give a speech. You guys, I'm sweating thinking about this. I am sweating right now because I just remember literally, like I said, all the chairs were facing in the center. So everyone was just looking at me. I'm already like intimidated because this is a new family. And then it was like another language and they want me to give a speech. I don't want to give a speech in English. I don't want to give a speech in any language. Like, ah. And I was like, oh, like, muchas gracias. And then I looked at Diego and I was like, please just like help me out. Like say something like super nice in Spanish for me. Like make me look good. Cause like obviously I want everybody to like me. And I'm like, make me look good. Homeboy goes up and she just basically says like, oh, like she says, muchas gracias a todos. And I was like, are you kidding me? That's like the only thing you could think of. And if you know Diego, like that's so Diego. We love him to death, but like, God, could you help me out? That finished or whatever. And then this family loves to dance, y'all. They love to dance. And don't get me wrong. I love a good dance, but an organized dance, I don't know about that. They turn on the music and they were like, we want like the cumpleañera, like we want the birthday girl to dance salsa. Are you kidding me? And so they had me with Diego in the middle again. And they wanted us to dance salsa. I've never danced salsa in my life. I think I danced in like salsa in like 8th grade Spanish class, which was not like nobody in there was Latino. So like you better believe we were not dancing salsa. We were dancing, I don't even know. And I just remember being like, I just want to fall in a hole and like never see the light again. And we danced. And honestly, the family was so, so kind and so nice. And then we sat down and we were doing something. And I was just like, oh my God, I just want to like sit in the back. I hope nobody like comes over to me at this point. It ended up being totally fine. And it really was like a cool experience. And it's crazy to look at like how far I've come with his family, because back then, obviously they didn't really get to know me because I couldn't really show who I was. And now it's really cool that like now I can speak the language and I can hang out with them and I can like make jokes even if they fall flat. But for the most part, like I am so lucky with the family that I got here in Ecuador, and they have really just welcomed me in, and they know, they like, actually, I told them now that I have the ability to tell them about that first time I met them, we actually have a joke because they love to make people like speak and like give speeches. So any kind of event will like be, it's like a birthday or it's whatever, like, okay, like who wants to like dar palabras, who wants to like give the speech? And I told them about this story about the first time meeting them and like how it felt, and they think it's hilarious. And so anytime there's like any kind of family event now, they're like, where's Catherine? Catherine will dar las palabras. And I'll give the speech. And y'all, and like sometimes it's a joke and then sometimes it's like actually not a joke. And I'm like, oh my God. And like I still sweat to this day. And like I know some people say families don't do it, but Diego's family does it. And a lot of the parties I've been to, they do it, where basically like you'll blow out the cake, like the candles on the cake, and then people will have like a flute of champagne, or what do they call it? Like whatever, a glass of champagne. And I don't know why I said flute. I mean, I think that's the same thing, but that sounds fancy. And everybody has a glass of champagne, and all of a sudden they're like, all right, who wants to say something? And then it's like silence. And then somebody's like, bueno, I'll go first. And I'm like, oh God. And then they're like, okay, like, happy birthday. I hope you like have many more birthdays. God bless you. Like it's the same speech. And then it's like silence. Everybody takes a sip and everybody's looking down like at their champagne. Oh my God, I'm cringing when I'm like saying this right now. And then the next person speaks up and it's like, oh, bueno, like I'll go now. And I'm like, okay, wait, how many of y'all are going? Because, after there's a certain number of people that go, then you have to go. It's not like, oh, we'll just do like a few people and then we'll stop. It's like, 7 out of 8 gave speeches. I got to do my part. So, oh my God, I've been to so many events where they do that. And so anyways, I'm just sweating. Last little tiny little mini story. I was at a birthday party one time with this woman who's so kind, works at the hostel with my husband. And even before I even spoke Spanish, because I volunteered there like 8 years ago, before I even lived in Ecuador, I volunteered there. And her and I hit it off. I don't know, through body language, through whatever. We had a blast, and I absolutely love her. And her family has treated me so well as well. They invite me to their family like events, and it's literally just family and then me and Diego. And it's just so special to me. And those are the moments where I'm like, wow, this is like many moments, but this is one of those moments when I'm with them that I'm like, wow, this is like so cool. So cool to like have these people in a completely different country that are like our paths would have never crossed, whatever. But anyways, they invited me. So this woman's daughter's husband, which I'm actually friends with the daughter as well, her husband was having a birthday, and literally it was like the immediate family and then me and Diego. I really got off topic on this one, but here we are. And we're sitting at the table, and this is my first year in Ecuador as well. And they're like, okay, they were the ones that are going to dar palabras. So they were like, we're going to all go around in the circle. And it was going in like order of the seats, like of the table. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even know this man. I met him for the first time, and this is not even my language. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It comes to me and I'm like, happy birthday. I forget even what I said. I was like, I don't even think like I know you that well, but if it were in English, I could say something better. Okay, cheers. And like, oh, y'all. And it's just like, you get, when you live abroad, y'all, you get thrown into so many situations that will humble you. They will completely humble you. But honestly, it grows you so much as a person, and it's so cool. But in the moment, you're like, oh my gosh, you just have to literally just sit through it. And like, it's just happening. You're like, this is happening. I'm going to speak in Spanish. Maybe I'm going to let some words come out of my mouth and hope they land. Let me know if you guys can relate in the comments, or if you've had any stories like this, like these. I would love to hear them, because I know I'm not the only one out there. Like, it is so humbling sometimes living in a foreign country, but it also brings about like so many cool memories and so many good laughs and stories for later. Here we are 7 years later. Now we can joke about the fact that first time I ever met them, I was shiting my pants. Thank you guys for listening. And I'm so excited to catch you guys here next episode, where we just dive more into life abroad and what that entails. So thanks guys again for listening, and I'll see you later. Ciao, ciao.
If you got a good laugh from this episode, make sure to follow the show and share it with a friend who can relate to the highs and lows of life abroad. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram @CatMcGreaves for more stories and tips about life in Ecuador and beyond. See you next time. Ciao, ciao.